The Marvel Cinematic Universe has been the ruler of Hollywood box office ever since the release of the first Avengers movie more than a decade ago. A lot of other studios tried to create a shared cinematic universe, but none were as successful as Marvel. But I have noticed and personally experienced that after Avengers Endgame, a lot of the movies and shows that Marvel has released, people have not really liked them. It's not like we are still in Avengers Endgame's hangover or that we want every story to be an epic like Endgame. It's actually quite the opposite. Khair, in today's video, I will be discussing some of the reasons which are leading to a slow downfall of Marvel. The characters introduced in the first three phases of Marvel had some really good qualities but also had some major flaws, which made them even more human and gave them a defining personality. Tony Stark was a billionaire, but he was morally ambiguous. He had to learn to be a hero. Steve Rogers was morally the perfect superhero, but he lacked the physical strength and he had to prove his morality before gaining the said physical strength. Thor had the money and the power, but his major flaw was that he was too arrogant. He had to learn to be humble to be a hero again. Bruce Banner had an internal struggle like no other character. Natasha Romanoff was an assassin but was haunted by her past. Hawkeye is just a guy with a bow and arrow fighting alongside gods. Their different strengths and weaknesses and their ability to work together made Avengers a very compelling and very entertaining movie. With the progression of their story, as an audience, we also grew with them. By the time of Captain America Civil War, we understand that Tony is in the favor of the Sokovia Accords because he holds himself responsible for the destruction that he has caused. While we also understand why Steve Rogers is against the Accords, based on his experience in the previous film Captain America the Winter Soldier, he doesn't trust the government. This dilemma becomes the backbone of Captain America Civil War, and it definitely is one of the best movies out there. We see our favorite heroes fight, win, lose, battle against themselves, come out on top, and this makes them heroes. But if we talk about the characters introduced in the fourth and fifth phases of Marvel, they are not so compelling to me, or at least their stories are not. Now, I'm not some incel Andrew Tate cocksucker who doesn't like girl boss characters. But the reason these characters fail to become compelling is because they are perfect in every way. They are smart, they are good at their jobs, they are witty, they get their powers and are instantly a master at handling them. They defeat everyone, they are morally superior. There is no substance or conflict that can create a change or a compelling character arc. The best example of this is actually She-Hulk. When Jen Walters gets her powers, she doesn't listen to Bruce Banner. Bruce tells her to be more careful and less trusting of strangers based on Bruce Banner's experience. But Jen doesn't listen to him, and that leads to what happens in the 8th episode of the She-Hulk show. This could have been an amazing character moment where Jen realizes that, okay, she's not the perfect person, she's not the most intelligent, and she needs to listen to Bruce because Bruce is more experienced. But as we know, She-Hulk literally goes to the Marvel Studios office and changes the ending of her show, thus killing off any character growth that she could have had. Even if we keep the ending, just a simple scene of her going up to Bruce and telling him, I'm sorry Bruce, I should have listened to you, or you should train me, you should make me learn how to use these powers. It could have been a great moment that would have contrasted with her personality at the beginning of the show and a changed personality at the end of the show. On the surface level, the ending of She-Hulk is a pretty cool concept, but it comes at the cost of character development, and that makes it a polarizing ending. The only two characters from phase 4 that I absolutely like are Shang-Chi and Shuri, because in both of their stories they have to overcome their personal inhibitions and become a hero. The other really cool characters could have been Moon Knight and Miss Marvel, but with convoluted and, to be honest, boring writing, their shows were actually butchered. Wanda Maximoff was the first Marvel character to turn fully to the dark side. But a lot of people, including myself, found that turn to be quite abrupt. And that feels abrupt because the ending of her show, WandaVision, still tries to make us feel like Wanda did the right thing and that Wanda is still a hero. She took control over an entire town, but by the end of the show, we are forced to believe that she's still a hero. And we never actually spent time with Wanda post the events of her show to actually know her stance on the whole situation. We should at least know what is going on in Wanda's mind. Either she feels guilty for what she did, or she feels like the world has been unfair to her and whatever she did was not wrong. Either of the two stances would have been quite understandable. But after WandaVision, the next time we see Wanda, she's a full blown villain in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. In my previous video about Spider Man Far From Home, I explained why I did not like that film. And in that video as well, I talked a little bit about this forced hero complex. You can check that video out as well. And in the case of Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantum Mania, Cassie is actually lecturing Scott that they should help the people of the quantum realm. You just came to this place, you don't know anything about this place. How can you possibly think to help someone here? You don't even know the basic rules of survival in this realm. In the cases of Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, and Spider-Man No Way Home, the heroism of the characters does not come naturally based on the previous experience of the characters, but it just comes out of nowhere and it feels unnatural and forced. The character arc that Peter Parker has in Spider-Man No Way Home is actually a good one, but it's based on fan service and a pretty horrendous out of character decisions, hence that character arc does not work for me. Does Tobey Maguire's arrival in Spider-Man No Way Home make any goddamn sense?
Absolutely fucking not.
Fan service is not a bad thing. But at some point, as a filmmaker and a studio, you have to realize the difference between pleasing your audience and disrespecting them. Bringing back Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire was a fan service that pleased the audience. Bringing back Sir Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman is disrespecting your audience, the actors, and the characters. Logan was a genuinely beautiful bookend to the whole X-Men saga. It ended the story arcs of Professor X and Wolverine in a heart-wrenching manner, and it was beautiful. We did not need Sir Patrick Stewart's Professor X getting killed by Wanda one more time. And when it comes to Hugh Jackman and Deadpool 3, it's just a marketing gimmick. It's definitely nostalgia baiting. Instead of writing good characters with good stories and character arcs, let's just bring back the actors because that's the only trick we have left up our sleeve. I don't really think I have a lot to say in this topic because just look at what they have done to Thor and Hulk.
What? What the fuck?
When the first Avengers was released, I was 12 years old. It's been 11 years since that, and I, along with all of my friends who were fans of Marvel, have grown up. By the time Avengers Endgame came out, we were quite ready to let those characters go, and so we did. The core audience that Marvel had has now entered adulthood. A major rule of life is evolution. As we grew up, we started to evolve and we started liking more emotionally driven and mature stories. But Marvel is still very hung up on the style of humor and action that they had in its early days. And I would say it's worse now. The characters which are supposed to grow up, like Hulk, Thor, Doctor Strange, they crack lame jokes, make bad decisions, and are basically dumb fucks. Marvel is introducing girl bosses and making a fool out of all the established characters, trying to appeal only to the children and the politically charged people. And at what cost? At the cost of legacy characters, good stories, and the fan base that they had built over 10 years. Captain America the Winter Soldier, Captain America Civil War, Black Panther, these are the movies which have really mature themes. Government infiltration, manipulation, black history in America, how people were treated, racism. And yet, all of these movies are actually pretty good films. So, great emotionally driven, powerful stories, entertaining films, and good box office numbers can actually exist together. But in this new era, Marvel is destroying the legacy characters, and when the people who have been fans of Marvel for 10 years criticize them, they become the villains. Marvel after Avengers Endgame just feels like a mess. Because the individual films and shows are not very interesting, and all of them combined don't give us a sense of direction as to where everything is headed. The combined runtime of the first three phases of Marvel is less than the Marvel Phase 4, and still we know next to nothing about how the multiverse works in the Marvel Cinematic Universe or the multiverse. And now someone would say that Marvel is setting up the characters for Avengers, future Avenger movies, to which I would say that it's doing a pretty shit job at that. Somehow, the genuine excitement I used to have for Marvel films and shows is gone, and watching these shows feels like a task that I have to complete to keep up with something. And when entertainment becomes a task, it means it's pretty shit. Like I said, we don't know where the stories are headed, the characters are unlikable, and the shows and movies do not reward the viewers for his or her investment. The rules of multiverse are pretty unclear. How do they work? What is it? Who is Kang? We don't know anything. If you look around, there are way too many superhero options in today's day and age. So many TV shows, so many movies, so many indie movies. You have a lot of options. While some have been an absolute blast, others are what doctors called an explosive diarrhea. While shows like The Boys pull you in with the dark and twisted characters and compelling stories, and Peacemaker that tells a story of a broken soldier in a very entertaining manner, there are shows like She Hulk who only exist to destroy the fandom that Marvel had cultivated over the years. And films like Thor Love and Thunder who piss right in your mouth for expecting a good story from a beloved franchise and a film which has Christian fucking Bale in it as the fucking antagonist. Marvel is in a really bad place. Too much content, too little substance, and a team hell bent on destroying what once ruled Hollywood. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 comes out tomorrow. I'm really hoping it's a good film, not because it's a Marvel film, but it's a James Gunn film. And if that film turns out to be bad, I might just give up on Marvel. If we never spend time with Wanda post the events of WandaVision, instead of writing good characters with good stories and good story, in-